Hello everyone, this is Jenny with your monthly energy forecast for the month of December 2020. This year is almost at an end, which I find quite hard to believe. This year has flown by very fast indeed. Before I pull the tarot cards for this month, I would like to tell you something general about December, the way it feels to me as an energy intuitive. If you watched my November video, you might remember that I talked about how we would be sent very powerful healing energy from Spirit, so that the focus in November would be on both individual and collective healing. I told you that this energy might lead you to realize very important things about yourself and your life. It might even lead you to epiphanies. This energy is going to continue in December, but it will intensify even further. It's like Spirit is turning up the volume on the energy generator and sending us even more healing energy. Now, when you go through a period of self-healing and you let go of a lot of emotional baggage that you might have been carrying around with you through several lifetimes, you can experience a very light, bright, intense energy that can almost feel like a type of euphoria. It is also a very powerful drive that just wants to propel you forward. If you imagine all of that negative energy that might have been dragging you down as a big bag or a big load on your shoulders, the minute you release all of that bag, that load is gone. And you can suddenly hop and dance and be merry. And that can lead to this feeling that you just want to move on. You want to go to the next step on your journey. You don't want to linger anymore. And that is, of course, wonderful, because that gives you a drive that you can then put to work, and you can then focus on what the next steps of your journey are going to be. If you suddenly see things clearly, then you might know, I need to do this to achieve my dream. I need to let go of that. I need to move away from here. And these are all of my next steps. But there is another side to this energy also, because that energy is so bright that it basically casts its light into every little corner of your life. So everything that was in shadow before is now suddenly illuminated, and you can see everything clearly. So that also means that you can have these shock experiences where you suddenly see a relationship or a situation in your life for what it really is. And you might even ask yourself, why have I never seen this before? It can be a relationship you have been in for years. It can be a friendship that you have had for years, or a job that you have been in. It can be anything in your life. And all of a sudden you might realize, this is what that person is really like, or this is what that situation is really like, and is that serving me? So there are two sides to this energy. One that is dynamic and creative and can propel you forward, and another side that can cause real shock reactions in your body, reactions that can shake you so much that you are paralyzed, that you feel unable to move forward in any way. It paralyzes you and you simply don't know where to go next. So that means, of course, that you can have a December where you might experience a lot of turbulence in your life, a lot of ups and downs. So if you experience that, just remember that it is all part of this healing that Spirit is sending you. These epiphanies that you are supposed to have are all part of your soul journey. These are very turbulent times that we live in. We are living through some major energy shifts. the coming of new earth or fifth dimensional living or whatever you want to call it results in a lot of energy shifts for us. So you can experience December as a very topsy-turvy month, where one day you feel like, this is what I want to go, this is where I need to be. And then the next day, there comes the clarity and shows you that that might not be the case. So that being said, it also means that December is a month where Spirit wants you to focus on self-care. Your spirit guides do not want you to ignore this anymore. It is something that we easily ignore in our modern life. And the reason we do that is that we think that self-care means that we have to take a lot of time off, that we have to take a week out of our calendar and go on a vacation that we can't afford, or that we have to have hours every day to set aside for meditation or long baths or walks in nature, and we simply can't see how we have that time. But that's not what spiritual self-care is. Spiritual self-care comes when you live from the moment and in the moment. And when you do that, it's really just about setting aside little moments every day, in between chores that you have to do. Little moments where you can close your eyes, where you can maybe listen to a little music, where you can hear a song in your head, where you can go inward and talk to Spirit, or where you can just sit and be and feel yourself. So it is not about hours of your time every day, and it is not about weeks that you need to take out of the calendar. It is about living in the moment and seeing your world from that moment. Embracing the moment and really feel yourself in that moment is going to be what will lift us into fifth dimensional living as a collective. So that's what I wanted to say overall for December. So let's see what cards come up for this month. As always, I am using the Enchanted Forest Tarot deck. And I will be pulling 3 cards that will give us 3 perspectives on the month ahead. Our first perspective. Our second perspective. And our third perspective. So the first card that came up in this reading is called the Keeper of Visions in this deck. That is the King of Cups in the regular tarot. In this card, the King of Cups is depicted as this big salmon that you see swimming in the water here. So he is a shape-shifting wizard that can take on the shape of this salmon fish. So this salmon symbolizes the watery side to the King of Cups. The King of Cups has a strong, passionate nature, and he has the ability to indulge his visions and his fantasies. He has learned how to master these emotions. That is why the wizard here transforms into the fish, and then he transforms back to himself again. So the King of Cups has a strong creative imagination that he can channel into his relationships or into visionary expressions in every area of life. But with all court cards, there is a duality that we need to be aware of. And with the king, it is that if he loses his clarity and becomes a little clouded about all of the issues in his life, he can cause a lot of uproar in this ocean. So he can cause massive waves and massive flooding. And that, of course, is the opposite of harmony. So there are 2 sides to him. On one hand, he has the ability to move in these waters of his imagination and creativity with ease. But if he loses his focus, then he can become too passionate and he can cause a lot of upheaval. So that fits with the topsy-turvy energy that I feel is coming our way in December. On one hand, we might be taken over by this passionate, creative energy that just wants to propel us forward. But on the other hand, We can suddenly be shown things that we didn't see before, and that can stress us in a way that may cause us to lash out. So I'm not surprised that we have a court card in this reading for December. The next card that we have is called the Folly in this deck, and that is the Tower in the regular tarot. This is a card that often scares people, but there is no reason to be afraid of this particular card. In this deck, the Tower is this massive tree house that was built by a man in the enchanted forest who did not listen to his woodsmen. They told him that the top of the tower was too slender and wouldn't hold, but the man was only focused on building the tower or his tree house as tall as it could be. And that vanity or indulgence, whatever you want to call it, then caused his tree to crack and crash to the ground. You can also see this big circle of birds above the tree, and they have all been roused from their slumber by the cracking of the treetop. So they are angry, they are crying out in anger because they were disturbed. So the tower symbolizes the fall of the ego. In the regular tarot, you always see a lightning bolt that hits the tower and causes it to fall. And this, of course, is a humbling experience. Our ego is no longer enough, and we are being forced to see past that. So the tower frightens some people because it is an ending, and it is an abrupt ending too. It is a shock energy that we have here, but it is a necessary ending. It is an ending that has to happen for us to move forward. So that fits into what I said at the beginning, that this epiphany energy that we will have in December might also force some of you to see certain ugly truths in your life that you might have been blind to before. And the Tower then tells you that it is time for that to end, for those situations to change, so that you can bring forth healing in your life. So the last card that we have in this reading is the Heart in this deck, and that is the Fool in the regular tarot. So that is card 0. So the Fool is our most inner self, who is limitless and adventurous. He is guided by his heart and by divine golden light. So in this deck, the Fool is this white animal that you see here, who kind of stands at the edge of the enchanted forest and invites us to come inside. A very beautiful animal that moves with divine grace. So the Fool has an innocent trust in the divine, and therefore he steps forward fearlessly. In the regular tarot deck, there's typically a cliff in front of him, but in this deck, it is the forest that this animal will step into or guide us into without any fear. But in this reading, the Fool is our third perspective, so it's like we have come full circle here, diving into our emotions and clearing up all of that old baggage that we might be carrying around, seeing everything clearly, bringing things to an end that needs to end, will bring us back to this innocent trust in the divine that we can then embrace and keep in our hearts and use to move forward. So this card here as our third perspective is Spirit's way of telling you to keep faith throughout this work that you're being asked to do, throughout this topsy-turvy energy. And they want to show you that it will eventually lead to a new innocence that will raise you up and give you the courage to move on in a new way, with a more enlightened perspective on yourself and your life and also on the world as a whole. So we do have some very powerful topsy-turvy energies going on here that will bring with it certain necessary changes that can feel overwhelming to you, but it will lead you here. It will bring about a pure heart and it will raise your vibration. So that was the reading for December. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more. If you would like more detail, please tune in to my weekly readings where I also give you advice on crystals and herbs that might be beneficial to you. I wish you a wonderful December, and I hope that you can reach some clarity. I will talk to you again soon. Bye!